It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily with positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
From Los Angeles this week on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington, we have Spectrum News 1 reporter Timothy Parker joining the show. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you. Just gearing up for NABJ. Can't complain. But let's get into the NFL, all right? We have seen some preseason games to get started, so football is here, so we're going to talk about it.
I think NABJ may be more excited than any of these preseason games we're going to watch.
I
don't know if people know what NABJ is. It's a bunch of the best black journalists in the country come together and do their thing and network and just commiserate, cry together, laugh together, dance together, a lot of dancing together. I mean, so I honestly think this will be a lot more fun than half of these preseason games we're going to watch.
I was watching the Falcons-Broncos the other day, and I was like,
oh, my goodness.
It's such a tease because, like, the season's back, football is on TV again, but it's not the exciting, and it's not Sunday football, it's not Monday Night Football, it's just preseason, second and third stringers, and yeah, it's not. We're still going to talk about it.
I'm actually surprised that NBC. I get that it's preseason and Matt Ryan didn't start and all this, but I'm surprised that NBC or the NFL didn't make them play at least one series. You know what I'm saying? Because this is the opening game of the season. I know it's preseason, but it's the first time you see football. You got to at least have them up there for one series. If it's a prime time, technically the season opener for the network, for the league, how could you not have any of them out there? It's just, you're telling us this is a waste of time. But, it is what it is.
Basically. I agree. I mean, I'd like to at least see a quarter, with both teams, with their guys on the field, but what do we know? I guess, but in the long run, it is better, I guess, for them to not play that game, continue to just practice.
Just don't have preseason, or just have preseason. Yeah, just for the scrubs, you make the scrubs play and then get them guys. No, I apologize. That's not disrespectful. I'm a scrub. I can't play football.
Let's just say I was going to let you finish, right?
But let the backups and the guys fighting for jobs play, and then let us not be subjected to that type of stuff. Really, nobody. I guess it's good for fans who never get to come to games in person and stuff like that. So
Yeah, the ticket prices are very cheap. It's a lot easier for people to get to go to games, even though it's like a double-edged sword. So you get to go to the game, but you don't get to see your favorite players unless you have really good vision and can see them on the sideline. That's about it. You're not actually seeing them on the field. I don't know. I think the preseason practices that are open to fans is actually more beneficial and more exciting than the preseason games.
I actually agree, which is crazy because it's hot as crap and you're standing in the sun or whatever. But I was at Chargers last week, and it was lit because it was Chargers and Rams, so it was kind of like a real game a little bit, but it's not.
Okay.
So it was great. It was a great atmosphere, and Rams fans were there, Chargers fans were there, and it's it is better than the crap we watched Thursday night.
Yeah. Now, was that a traditional practice with some basic scrimmaging? What was that like, the Chargers and Rams practice together?
Well, I mean, they go through drills. Basically, the first-team Rams offense faced off against the first team Rams offense faced off against the first-team Chargers defense and vice versa. So on one field, it was Jared Goff and those guys versus the Chargers defensive starters. On the other side, you had Phillip Rivers against Aaron Donald. And then it rotated with the second string, third string, and however, which I think is beneficial to both the Rams and Chargers because they are the two of the best teams in the league. So you're really getting some best-on-best competition, which in the long run will probably help you better than playing whoever you play in the preseason. That's real work because if you're like Aaron Donald going up against Phillip Rivers, this is like real competition. Keenan Allen going up against the Rams secondary, or if you're, that's real work.
Yeah, that's an actual game. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
That's not even a preseason game, but that is more beneficial because you at least get to go against the offensive or defensive line. That's the first string, and you're playing the best guys. And that's also the benefit of having team franchises that are in the same city. I mean, there are a lot of teams that do that. I think the Jaguars and Dolphins for years did it, but you have that, you don't always have somebody that's so close. That's also, as you mentioned, a top team in the league. It's one thing to be close to someone and be neighboring cities or a drive away, but it's another thing to have somebody in the same city as you. That's also one of the top teams. And for the Chargers, you have the Rams who went to the Super Bowl last year. The Chargers are no slouch either with Phillip Rivers. So very interesting. What are you seeing from the Rams and Chargers this year? I think the Rams really last year had a great learning experience. I think the Chargers are a team, as we talk about, that can be a top team in the NFL. What are your thoughts?
I think the Rams are going to take a step back, not because of themselves. I think the Saints are better. I thought the Saints were better last year. The Saints got robbed, even though
you got to
give the Rams some credit for holding the Saints down offensively. Also, you got to remember the Eagles in that NFC divisional playoff held the Saints down offensively. The Saints were scoring at will throughout the season. Once they got to the playoffs, the Eagles kind of figured it out where they slowed the offense down, and then the Rams kind of slowed the Saints down a little bit too, allowing that to even be a close enough game so you could have that controversial call. But still, despite that, I think the Saints are better. I think the Saints are better this year. I think the Saints are the best team in the NFC. And then you have the Rams and Eagles, second and third teams in the NFC. But any of those three, in my opinion, can win the NFC this year. Now, as for the Chargers, there are two teams better, Chiefs and the Patriots. The problem is the Chiefs are in their own division. So that's exactly the biggest problem for them. Because the Chiefs are in their own division, they were 12-4 and didn't win their own division. They had to go to Foxborough to play the Patriots in that division playoff. Plus, they had to play a first-round road game, and they were 12-4, and that's insanity. So it's just a tough road. Just trying to get if they can somehow win the division, they may have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. But I also don't believe they're that good either. So I don't think they're winning the division. They have offensive line problems. They had offensive line problems last year. They have offensive line problems this year. And they don't have Russell Okung, who's out with a pulmonary embolism. People are thinking he may be out for 6 weeks. I'm doing a story on that now coming through next week about that, the medical aspect of it. But the Chargers and Melvin Gordon. Now, I think they'll be fine whether Melvin Gordon shows up or not because it's not about the running back league. Even though he's a star running back, they went 4-0 without him last year. So I think they'll be fine. But either way, I don't think they're as good as people make them out to be. So, but they are still Super Bowl contenders.
Well, I like what you said in the NFC, of course, me being an Eagles fan, that you had them. I was all for it with you putting them in the top of the NFC until you said that you think the Saints are going to come out of the NFC. But okay, I think last year.
I'm from Philadelphia and I'm from Philly, so
I know.
I work in LA. I'm from Philly, so I'm rooting for my Eagles. But to be honest, like it is what it is. The Saints are stacked, and we don't know where Carson Wentz is. If we know this is Carson Wentz from 2 years ago, whatever, like the MVP Carson Wentz, then the Eagles, you might have an edge. But at the same time, the Rams with that offense in that dome 8 times a year, you might as well give them chalk up 7 wins, just 7 home wins, just like that, playing in that dome with that speed, that offense. Now, with Carson Wentz, if he's healthy and like he was before, having a weapon like Deshaun Jackson he didn't have before, that takes them to another level. But again, it's not like playing in that dome in New Orleans. It's such an advantage. If you have a good offense, like the greatest show on turf with the Rams or any team like that, like you're kind of unstoppable with that speed in that building.
Yeah, I think you touch on some good things. A big part of everything this season and every season revolves around health, and there are so many question marks because of the fact that it's such a long season and these guys are getting banged up each week. It's a lot of wear and tear on their bodies that you don't know. You don't know if they're going to be able to sustain the whole season.
Yeah,
so I know absolutely. For Carson Wentz, it's a matter of, which Carson Wentz will we see? And I know everyone's kind of, with him being hurt last year and then the year before getting hurt obviously so late in the season, we just don't know if Carson Wentz is going to be able to play a full season. The next question, with the AFC, you talk about the Patriots and the Chiefs. Who do you think will be the front runners in the league this year?
Well, I mean, obviously, like the Patriots have a guaranteed roll to the NFC the Patriots have a guaranteed roll to the AFC Championship every year because their division is terrible. And as much as people look at the Patriots dynasty as how amazing it was, you got to realize they've had no competition outside of maybe 2 years with the Jets for 20 years. Like the Bills have been bad. The Jets have been bad, other than like 2-year stretch when Bart Scott said can't wait. The Dolphins are mediocre all the time, but yet they beat the Patriots. I don't know. Either way, the Patriots have no competition, and therefore they're guaranteed to win 12 games. They're guaranteed to get a bye. They're probably guaranteed to have home field advantage in the AFC playoffs, which means you just win 1 game and you're 1 game away from the Super Bowl automatically, just like that.
Automatically,
now, again, I mean, because if you remember when Andy Reid's team with the Eagles were perpetually in the NFC Championship game, yes, the Eagles were good, but that division was terrible. Like at that time, once they got past the hump of the Giants with Michael Strahan and those guys, the division was awful. They won like 5 straight NFC East titles. The Cowboys were at the worst part of that franchise history. Quincy Carter was the quarterback for the Cowboys. Like it was like Randall Cunningham was the quarterback. It was a disaster. Like that era, the Redskins had no names. It was bad, and that's how the Eagles got to all those NFC Championship games. And the same thing can be said for the Patriots, but it's just a longer stretch, and they're better. They're just great too. So it's just a perpetual system of them being great, and I think that's going to happen again. So they're the front runners. You really like the Chiefs. Like the questions with the Chiefs is the defense.
That's a good point.
The reason they're not in the Super Bowl is because of their defense. Like the Patriots just marched down the field non-stop in the AFC Championship game. If they had any defense at all, they were going to go to the Super Bowl and probably beat. Actually, the Super Bowl would have been so much better if it would have been Chiefs Rams.
Oh, without a doubt.
Remember, because remember the Monday night game last year when it was like
yes. And I was looking forward to them playing each other again because that Monday night game where it was the highest scoring game we've seen, where both teams had over 50 points, and that was insane, incredible football to watch. and then we have the Patriots, Rams, and that snooze fest of a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I think the Chiefs, the reason why they weren't there is because of the defense, and I think the questions still remain. We went this long, and we did not talk about the Cleveland Browns.
I literally knew you were going to say them, and I purposely was leaving them out.
the Cleveland Browns are definitely, in my opinion, will win the division, and I think they're going to get a bye, but they're not going to win a playoff game.
Oh, okay.
They're not ready. They're going to.
So they have a strong regular season and then get knocked out the first round of the playoffs?
Well, I mean, it'll be their first game.
Well, their first game, yes, once they get a bye.
Yeah. They're not winning. I think they get a bye and lose to whoever. And you know what? They'll lose to the Chargers. The Chargers will beat them in the division playoff. That's my prediction. The Chargers will beat the Browns in the AFC title game. It'll be a rematch of the Chargers and Patriots in the AFC Championship, or Chargers Chiefs in the AFC Championship. But either way, I think the Browns, whoever plays them, will beat them in that AFC division playoff because they're going to hype the world up. They may win like 12 games, 13 games, and I think they're going to get bounced in that first home game.
I do love all the hype that's around them because it makes you wonder if they'll live up to it.
I think if they go like 10-6 or something like that and win the division and get a wild card home playoff game, they'll win. But I don't think fresh off a great season, they'll win the divisional playoff. I think they won't be ready for it. Because you got to remember that the team you play in that divisional playoff is for real because they had already won a playoff game the week before.
Exactly, and that's always a question. They have a game the week before, so they're not coming off a bye week. Whereas a team that has a bye, it's great to have that bye, maybe for any injuries or nicks you might have. It kind of breaks up the momentum of the season where you are used to that regular schedule playing every week.
Especially if you haven't been in the playoffs since I was in little tights, little Pampers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it'll definitely be interesting to see how the Cleveland Browns live up to the hype because right now they are one of the teams that everyone is talking about. And most recently we did see for the Patriots, we saw Tom Brady did get a 2-year extension. So that's age 43 and 44 that the Patriots are counting on him to continue to lead the franchise. People were questioning, I don't even know how you question Tom Brady at this point, questioning the contract extension because of his age. The fact that he's going to be 43 and 44 in those 2 years. But it's Tom Brady we're talking about. What are your thoughts on it?
The prevailing belief is that the extension is not real. They're just giving them more money. Like, it's just like, all right, whatever. No, that's it's just like, it's window dressing.
But are they wrong for that? Look what Tom Brady has done for the Patriots.
No. I'm just saying it's not an extension. Like, it's not an extension in that they're saying, we really believe you'll be here to 2021. It's an extension so we can pay you type deal, which is the prevailing belief. But also, how is he 42 or 43?
Well, he's, I guess, 42 now, or it's for 40. No, or I don't even know. He's 40. It's going to be year 43 and year 44. So at some point soon he'll be turning 43.
Okay, because he said he wants to play at the 45, which made me ask.
Right.
Does the 2021 get him through 45? It may. I don't know. I'm not sure how old he is, but if he's 43, then that 21 extension gets him through 45, and I think he'll just retire at that point.
Okay, so the last thing I just wanted to ask you, Tim, and I thank you for weighing in on your football predictions, is just where can people find you? What are your social media handles so that people can keep up with the work you're doing on the West Coast?
It's simple. It's at Timothy Parker TV. At Timothy Parker TV on Twitter and at Timothy Parker TV on Instagram.
Perfect. Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining us on Beyond the Headlines this week. I look forward to seeing if your predictions are actually correct, especially hoping that my Eagles are on the top of the league this year. I can never root against them. So thank you so much for joining me.
I didn't go on any limbs here, so I was stating the obvious. But just obviously, keep your eyes out for the Packers, keep your eyes out for the Panthers, and and the Cowboys. The Falcons too. They have talent,
of course.
And because they still have talent down there.
Can never count them out. Yeah, it's only July. Well, now I'm sorry, it's August now. Wow. Well, it shows how much I know what date it is. It is officially August, so we don't know what will happen in the next few months. But I agree with what you're saying so far. So thank you so much for joining us on the show.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.